Hello. Have you ever felt like your body is working against you? You're exhausted, but you can't shut off. You're overwhelmed, but you keep pushing. You're tired, but your mind won't slow down. Your body feels tight, reactive, heavy, or just off. And maybe you've thought, what is wrong with me? Why can't I handle this? Why is my body doing this? That's you. Stay with me, because what I'm about to say may change how you see your body entirely. Your body is not betraying you. It may be the most intelligent system that you have. Welcome to the Aligned Human Project podcast, where consciousness meets creation and hustle gives way to harmony. I'm Elgin, contrarian soul guide, spiritual CEO, and founder of Practical Spiritualism. This is a space where we explore what it truly means to be human, aligned, awakened, and in flow with the field of life itself. Together, we'll bridge science and spirit, energy and embodiment, purpose and prosperity, so you can remember who you are beneath the programming and reclaim the power to create in full alignment with your soul. Because the next evolution of humanity isn't out there, it's in here. This is the Aligned Human Project. Hello, and welcome to the Aligned Human Project podcast, where consciousness meets creation and alignment becomes a way of life. I'm your host, Elgin, and today we're going to look at stress, burnout, and physical symptoms through a deeper lens, one that includes neuroscience, psychoneuroimmunology, ancient wisdom, and lived human experience. Let's start with the misunderstanding. Most people have been taught to treat the body like a machine. Push it, optimize it, hack it, override it, and fix it when it breaks. But your body is not a machine. It is adaptive, intelligent system, constantly interpreting what your internal and external environment are saying, constantly asking one core question: am I safe? Your autonomic nervous system is always active. It has two primary branches. First is the sympathetic: activation, mobilization, stress response, the doing. And the second is the parasympathetic: the rest, digest, recovery, and repair. And within that system, your brain, especially structures like the amygdala, act as threat detectors. It is constantly scanning for cues: physical, emotional, relational, and psychological. So when something is perceived as a threat, real or interpreted, your system activates a response: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. These are not conscious choices. They're what we call a pre-conscious choice. They happen in a tenth of a second and are based on past perceived threats. They're automatic and they're survival responses. Now here's where it matters. If stress is occasional, the system resets. It's beautiful. If stress is chronic, the system adapts. And what was once a temporary response becomes a baseline state, like living in hypervigilance. For example, high performers, whether that's athletes, military, first responders, even people that are within the business world, when we are trying to live at our optimal state, we often live in low-level chronic stress, and we normalize urgency, which becomes our always on. So think about it. Now, instead of moving between sympathetic and parasympathetic in our nervous system, which should, in a natural rhythm, flip every 90 minutes to 2 hours. So we're hard on for about 90 minutes, and then we flip. We take a break. Maybe we take a bit of a walk. We stand up and stretch. We take a look around, make sure that we're on the right track still, and then we would come back in again. Natural. Do, be, do, be, do. So we're going into the doing state of sympathetic, the being state of parasympathetic. Doing, being. So that's your reminder. Do, be, do, be, do. And when we do this naturally, then the body keeps resetting itself. We can breathe, we do some belly breathing, whatever it is. But if we don't do that and we stay always on, then we start becoming hyper vigilant. And we have this incredible, so the body will tense, the eyes will strain because they're looking for threat. That's our most dominant sense now, especially because of screens. And what starts to happen is we think this is just the way life is, but it's not. All of that is an illusion. And all of that is simply a sign or a signal that the system is maladapted, that we've gone out of an aligned state, out of a healthy response, and we've shifted over into an unhealthy response. And if the system stays maladapted for too long, then we start to get sick. And a symptom of being sick is disease. But what has been maladapted can always heal and become adapted. You didn't break your system just adapted into a state that isn't healthy. So now let's go deeper. There is a field of science called psychoneuroimmunology, and it studies how your thoughts, emotions, your nervous system, and your immune system all interact with each other. What it shows is this: your mental and emotional state directly influence your physiology. So chronic stress doesn't just feel bad, it actually changes hormone levels, immune response, inflammation, digestion, sleep cycles, even cognitive function. So over time, the body begins to reflect the internal environment that it lives in, not as a punishment, as adaptation, as a signal. Your body stores experience, not just events, but the emotional imprint of those events. So we know that there's molecules of emotions, neuropeptides. And if something wasn't processed, it doesn't disappear. It gets stored. The neuropeptides actually stay in your cells. And they show up in tension, in posture, in breath patterns, in nervous system responses. So when something in the present moment resembles the past, your body can respond as if it's happening again. It's like you're bringing it back to life. And this is why reactions can feel disproportionate. It's not just now, it's accumulated memory. This is why we often act so strongly and we don't know why. We don't realize that we're not reacting from this present moment to this one situation. We're pulling all the baggage from the past and bringing it with us. Once we understand that weight equals weight, so the weight of the baggage of our past, all of our dramas, all of our traumas that we didn't process, all those stored memories that are affecting the way that we behave, that drive the tone of our voice, that drive our actions, all of that weight impacts us. Even think about it. If you walked around all day with a 200-pound pack on your back, how would your body feel? Well, you are. So if we're carrying all this baggage from childhood, from adolescence, from your ex-husband or wife, from the times that you've been dumped, whatever happened, all of it, you're carrying it on the back, the body's going to start to break down. And our weight, W-A-I-T, so time gets created for healing and vitality. So the greater the baggage, and the slower that we are putting it down, the longer it takes for us to heal and come back into a healthy, adapted state. So instead of what we call an allostatic load, which is where our normal baseline gets changed, and so we stay more hypervigilant all the time, instead we want to downregulate that again so that we can have health and vitality. Think about it. If we're in hypervigilance, what is happening? On a physiology level, our blood is moving to our limbs, to our feet to run, to our arms and hands to fight. There, it's running to our eyes to look for danger. So we'll get tension headaches because the body's braced. It's always on. So it's like a tension that never fully releases. We're in a state of hypervigilance. So if all the blood flow is in your hands and your feet and in your eyes, what's happening to your organs? That's why we call parasympathetic rest and digest as well as reset. So when we move into parasympathetic, that all of a sudden the blood starts moving out, or the excess blood moves out of the limbs, out of the sense organs, moves back into the main organs of the body and starts to replenish those organs. When we are in a parasympathetic state, we start breathing to our belly. Think like a baby. We breathe to the belly. And when we expand and contract our waistline as we breathe, we're moving the diaphragm down. And going through the diaphragm is both of our vagus nerves, left and right, as well as our aorta, so think blood flow, and also the esophagus. And so the diaphragm starts massaging the esophagus to help us process food. And a lot of times food's just sitting in our body, not getting processed because all of the blood is somewhere else. That's why when people start doing breath work or yoga or meditation, they'll all of a sudden get weight loss, or they'll start correcting the way that the body expels its trash, because we're finally breathing and allowing the blood flow to come back into the center and the beautiful intelligence of the body to come online to be able to help us reset and replenish. The key here is we can't be in parasympathetic if we feel unsafe. And so every time that we believe that we lack safety and security in this world, whether that's in our bodies, in the environment, or just because we keep abandoning ourselves, we move into a parasympathetic or a sympathetic state that causes us to stay in that fight and flight or freeze response. The more that we can settle in and become present in the body, present in the moment, deal in facts, not in what ifs, all of a sudden we get to start taking all that energy, starts being expended out here and starts being replenished in here. And healing can begin to happen. This is why we can be exhausted and go to bed at night and wake up and still be tired. We don't feel replenished because all of the blood flow, we've stayed on this hyper alert even when we're in sleep mode. The blood's not going where it needs to go. The body's not getting into the system it needs to get into. So remember, your body is remembering even when your mind is trying to move on to the next thing. So now let's bring in the wisdom that's been here for thousands of years. Traditional Taoist medicine or science understood something long before modern science. Different patterns of stress show up in different systems of the body. What do I mean? Well, frustration and pressure can affect the liver system. Overthinking can affect digestion. Anxiety can affect the heart and the mind. And grief can affect the lungs. Fear can affect the kidneys and energy reserves. Different expressions, same truth. The body is communicating imbalance. This is where it all connects. So, your body is part of your form, field, and form. It reflects your internal state, field. So, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your stress patterns, and your identity. If the field is dysregulated, the body expresses it. If the field shifts, the body can begin to change. This is not instant, but it is consistent. This is why when we try to fix our symptoms without changing our state, we will have it come back, or we'll only fix it so much. We will start to consider the body getting old or breaking down. But when we look at ancient systems and we watch how the elderly are in those systems, in those communities, we start to see something vastly different. So we start to look at how to work on the symptoms. Now remember, dis-ease is a symptom of sickness, which means maladapted state. And so if we're stuck in the stress response, then mentally and emotionally and spiritually we start to break down, then we physically start to break down. So the body, the form, is relating to us the field. And so if I have a bunch of weight, yes, I need to exercise. Yes, I need to eat vibrant, healthy food. Um, that's great. And maybe there's a medication that needs to be taken a look at, or there's surgeries, all those things to fix the physical. But those are physical responses to a physical issue. But we didn't start with form. We started with field. And so we need to get out of the water. Those things are great. We need to be active, but we also need to take a really close look at how am I thinking? What are the emotions I'm emoting? What are the beliefs that I have? How are they serving me? What are the relationships in my environment? So the energy, the field is what's impacting. So we need to move to a higher level. And that's why you can do things like exercise. Great. Totally for it. I love strength training. I'm all for it. And we also look at things like yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, even things like acupuncture, reflexology, craniosacral. All of these would be more energy work. And so we're changing the way the chi or the energy is flowing through the body. We can dispel dense emotions or trapped emotions this way. We can look at psychology, counseling. All of these things are working on an energetic level. If we want to go up even further, then we're going to start looking, like I said, at those beliefs. Maybe we're brain dumping. What are the beliefs that I have about this situation? What are the emotions I have? And what are the thoughts I have behind them? We're going to dive deeper into what makes me tick. And so I'm going to change not only on the subtle body emotionally, I'm going to change on the subtle body within the mental. If I want to go higher up, I'm going to look at my archetypes. So those fixed aspects of myself. Do I have an inner victim that's really active? Can I move that inner victim to becoming victorious? So I change my perspective. One of the greatest things for vitality and health is optimism. And I don't mean toxic positivity. I mean optimism. We look at things real. We notice what the issues are, but we look at them as opportunities rather than as problems or obstacles, which would be pessimism. And so, what are the opportunities that I'm being given here? So, the way I perceive the world around me, what are the lenses I'm looking through? And so, we change the archetypes and the monads, these lenses of personality and of emotions, so that I can change the ripple effect on what's happening in my form. What we would call downward causation. And so we work on downward causation when we're creating something, but we forget that when we're healing, we also want to look at it from downward causation. Can I change these pieces? So how do I change at that level? Well, honestly, a lot of it's introspection. The greatest changes come from deep awareness. So using contemplation, meditation, prayer, all of these pieces that will help us start to look at the aspects of personality and who do I want to be? And how does she feel? How does she think? How does she show up in this world? How does she behave? How does she interact? What does her body feel like? What's her facial expressions? How does she breathe? And we start changing who we are to get a different outcome. And all of this helps us stop chasing solutions out there without listening in here, ignoring those early signals. You don't just need a fix. You need a relationship with your body to create intimacy into me see. So let me ask you this. If your body's not the problem, what might it be trying to tell you? And what changes if you actually listen? Just think about that. So now let's make this real. Take a moment, notice your breath, and just start to slow it down. Breathing to that belly, let the waistline expand and contract. And bring awareness to the body, scanning it from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head as you breathe. And just notice what's present. Tension, fatigue, tightness, restlessness, heaviness. And now ask, if this sensation could speak, what would it say? And just pause. Stay present. Every answer counts. And then ask, what does this part of me need? And just stay with that. I recommend grabbing a piece of paper and a pen and imagine this part of you writing a letter. What would it say to you? And then respond compassionately. Your body is not failing. It is adapting, and it is signaling, trying to bring you back into balance. The question is not, how do I push through this? The question is, what is this asking of me? When you begin to listen, you move from control, from force, and into alignment. And if this resonates, this is the work we do inside Align Your Life, inside the Aligned Human Project, and inside Alignment Operating System, helping people regulate their systems, reconnect with their bodies, and create from alignment instead of survival. If you're here to build a life that doesn't cost you your nervous system, to lead, love, and create from alignment instead of exhaustion, you're in the right place. This is practical spiritualism. This is the Aligned Human Project. And this is where we stop overriding life and start listening to it. Because alignment isn't something you achieve. It's something you practice. So keep pausing, keep feeling, and keep choosing. Now remember, you are the witness. You shape the field, and the field shapes your life. You are not here to fix yourself. You are here to remember yourself. Because when you align with your truth, everything else begins to align with you. If this episode sparked something inside you, hit follow or subscribe and share it with someone walking their own path of awakening. And if you're ready to go deeper, you'll find free resources, programs, and community spaces waiting for you at practicalspiritualismco.com. Remember, alignment isn't a place you reach. It's a practice you live. So keep pausing, keep feeling, keep aligning. You are the field. You shape the form.